Traveling to consciousness, exploring spiritual journeys to find answers in uncertainty.
What is up, conscious monkeys? Welcome to another episode of Traveling to Consciousness. I'm your host, Clayton, and this episode is going to be a little bit different than usual. As you know, I usually bring on guests. We have a great time. We talk it through. However, two of my guests fell through this week, which was crazy to me, but they'll be on in later episodes, so no worries on that. And we have a whole bunch of super cool guests coming on in future episodes. However, at the time of this recording, I just going to put out there that I don't really have too many other people lined up for the next couple weeks. But I think that's okay because this next couple weeks are going to be very interesting because I have like an ayahuasca retreat trip coming up and maybe someone else will get scheduled, but I'm going to just get creative with it over the next couple weeks here. So I hope you are up for some more solo episodes. With that being said, in this solo episode, I want to really discuss the importance of rest. Now, I believe that this topic is very underrated in the conversation of life. And I think the place that we should start with this is in discussing wounded masculine energy. Because being in your wounded masculine can result in you believing that you always need to be doing something. You always need to be striving towards something. You always need to be working. You always need to be doing, being in the state of doing. And this becomes a problem. It becomes a problem because this is actually not the case at all. The case in life is about balance, finding harmony, understanding that there is time for rest and recovery and creativity. And that is really whenever new ideas spawn and they're born. And I'll give you a personal example for myself. Personally, I train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I've noticed that the time that I get the most out of it or make the most increases in my Jiu-Jitsu game is when I rest. Now, there is a caveat with this. It's when I rest after training very hard for a long duration of time. So, for example, there were times whenever I would train 5-6 times a week, and I would do that for 3 or 4 weeks. And I would hit a point where I'd kind of feel like I'm not making much progress. Now, you have two options in this situation. Number one is to double down your efforts and do more, right? The other option, which I suggest, is to stop, take a break, take a week off, let your body recover. And quite frankly, I have noticed so much increase. I have seen an increase in my output, how well I perform in jiu-jitsu once I take that week off. Now, of course, I still active rest. I would move around, walk, do all the fun stuff. But the point I'm trying to get at here is that there seems to be this calibration that needs to occur within our brain to recover, to map maybe new neural networks in order to be able to perform at a higher rate whenever we go back to the activity at which we were doing. And I just see this to be the case, and I see this to be so true. And it got me thinking, I know that there have been studies, and the one I pulled up was in Iceland. They just recently did this study, and it was released, it looks like on July 6th of 2021, where they proved that a 4-day work week was actually more beneficial and more productive than having people working longer hours. And to me, it's crazy because the average person might feel like that's counterintuitive. To me, it makes so much sense that we're all working and busting our asses. But the point is that if you're not balancing it with the right amount of recovery, rest, almost like a mental adaptation, then you're not going to be performing at your best level whenever you are performing. So what this study in Iceland did, and I could have sworn I saw one in like Sweden or something before I saw this one, is that they actually reduced the amount of time that people worked, and they ended up being more productive and more engaged in the work in which they output. Now, based on this article, I am having a little bit of difficulty finding the exact statistics of how they got that. But I also wanted to point out that there is another article that I was reading that was talking about the 12 benefits of rest and sleep. Number one, sleep boosts your immune system, which is so true. Whenever you sleep, it gives your body the ability to rest and recover. Several studies have shown that a lack of sleep weakens the immune system in the long run. It also makes your body more susceptible to viruses and severe ailments. And so, on the other hand, if you pay attention to the importance of rest and sleep and having a good regular sleep pattern, it will keep the viruses away from you. And it makes so much sense to me, because this is when you're in your recovery stage, and when you're recovering and building, it's whenever you're truly making the progress, in my opinion. Another thing is that sleep improves your memory. This was something that was proven by the National Sleep Foundation, so maybe that's a little bit biased. Just realize that might actually be a bit of a biased source. They might, because I want people to sleep, but I don't know if there's like big sleep out there that's trying to get people to sleep more. With that being said, I do know that if you are in like a depressive state, like more sleeping can be detrimental. And this goes to that opposite polarity of constantly doing. So again, remember, this message is mostly for people who believe that they are doing too much. Like they're doing so much and they're doing so much, but they believe that they should be doing more. And that, I believe, is who this message is really for. And look, if you're sleeping 24/7, that's a different problem that we're not discussing here. I'm probably not the best source for it, but just putting it out there. Definitely don't be sleeping 24/7. Invites depression and a whole bunch of other stuff that we're not going to cover in this podcast. Sleep, restores and energizes. It stimulates creativity. And that's a big thing, is creativity, is being able to take your brain away from a problem. This was something I experienced in computer engineering a lot, was if I was trying to figure out the solution to a programming problem, constantly staring at it was not the solution. It usually required me to get up, walk away, and come back. And whenever I would get up and walk away, all these new ideas. Did I test that? Oh, I don't think I tested that. Oh, maybe I could do a solution like this. And it's crazy the effect that it has of your ability to fix a problem by not even really paying attention to it. You almost allow for the divine energy of creation, the divine energy of the universe to come in and solve the problem for you, in a sense. And this gets into meditating, and why I believe meditation is so important, because it teaches you how to not just always be in this perpetual state of thinking. Sleep helps with your, testosterone levels, weight management, mental health, improves your concentration and productivity. All this stuff that we were just discussing here improves your health. It slows down the aging process, because of course your DNA needs to reproduce. And so it, is able to, become more restorative. Shows here it makes you happier. Says you can eat fewer calories, which I guess makes sense. Help reduce pain. Sleeping is so amazing, and it's an aid to the whole resting component of needing to take a second to rest, and realizing that you can be so much more creative, so much more productive when you rest, versus whenever you're just constantly doing in this constant and perpetual state of progressing. So hopefully that makes sense. And I'm trying to heal the wounded masculine, and I think this is a way to do it, to keep people from getting into that extreme state of wounded masculinity. Let me see here. Oh yeah, and I think I figured out the corollary. This is kind of a tangent going off on the side here, so this is just like bonus content if you're still listening. I believe I figured out the right terminology for feminine. And where this comes from is, I've always heard it talked about as toxic masculinity, toxic femininity. And to me, that's just not right. Like, that's not the right way that we should be looking at it. I see it as just being like this overexertion into the masculine energy, or overexertion into feminine energy. And that's why I call it wounded masculine, is because it's not a divine and healed masculine. It's a masculine energy that needs more attention. and where I've gone with this in women. And I talked to a woman about this, and she seemed to be in agreement with it. Who she'll be coming on the podcast soon, so stay tuned for that. But what we talked about was controlled feminine. It's controlled feminine energy that is out of balance with the divine feminine. So I wonder how that sits with other people. You have wounded masculine, divine masculine, and then it's controlled feminine and divine feminine. So I'm curious about how that settles with some of you guys. With that being said, I don't really want to drag this on too long. I know that there's an importance with rest. And I just wanted to point out that, I was kind of taking a rest with this podcast a little bit. But I do want to be putting out episodes every Monday and every Thursday. So that will still be occurring. What it'll be the next Mondays, I'm not 100% sure. I am trying to get some people scheduled. I am trying to get people onto the podcast because I love having long form interviews. But maybe it's just a period of time for me to slow down a little bit. Maybe I was overextending myself. But with that being said, there are so many cool people coming on, famous TikTok people. We got yoga teachers, people who teach at festivals. It's going to be really exciting, but I don't really want to drag this on. I'm hyped about it. I'm excited, but I just want to say that consider doing less, especially if you always feel like you need to do more. There's always something more to do. You're never doing enough. Consider doing less. Make space for that divine energy, that divine creative flow of the universe to drop in and give you the answer that you're looking for. And let me know how that goes, because I have seen it work absolute wonders in my life. And I'll bet I would put money on it that it will work absolute wonders in your life. So with that being said, Conscious Monkeys, thank you for stopping in for this short episode. They're going to be longer in the future. Actually, I don't want to promise that. I don't really know. We're going to bring other people back on, but I appreciate you stopping in for this solo cast. And remember, we're all in this together. We're going to make it. And with that being said, I will see you all in the 6th dimension.